With Katie Taylor now almost certainly in the last year or two of her historic career, there will soon be a superstar gap to fill in women's boxing. There are many options to fill that mantle. Of course, Clarissa Shields is already a superstar, but in the heavier weight divisions, as is Amanda Serrano, but she is in the same position as Taylor towards the end of her career. There is still a possibility of Taylor facing Chantel Cameron in a trilogy at Croke Park to put the icing on the cake of their rivalry, although Taylor is currently champion in recess with the WBC. Therefore Cameron was scheduled to face Sandy Ryan in an all-British clash instead, until she relinquished her title in protest of 10 2-minute rounds instead of 12 3-minute rounds. You then have names such as Caroline Dubois and Lauren Price, who have incredibly high ceilings from a British perspective. But for the continued growth of women's boxing, 50-50 megafights will be required, such as those that Katie Taylor has produced, both with Cameron and Serrano. Therefore, a potential undisputed super bantamweight title fight between Ellie Scotney and Skye Nicolson would be huge. Nicholson has rebuilt well following a split decision defeat to Tiara Brown, after which she stepped down to the 122-pound division. She's looked to be a more spiteful puncher, with a couple of confidence-building wins, and she says she feels much better at the lower weight. Scotney has been on a belt collecting mission since picking up her first title in the summer of 2023 versus the Australian Shanika Johnson. Following signing with Jake Paul's MVP promotions, she's become a unified IBF, WBC and WBO champion, defeating Yamalef Mercado with an excellent performance on the Taylor vs Serrano 3 undercard. It would be an excellent fight should it happen, but how is it likely to go? Nicholson is an excellent fighter technically, using elusive footwork and range management in order to set up her shots. She'll use her reach to make her opponents jump in and then catch them on the way in. She's also a massive fan of the check hook, shifting her weight in one direction before quickly changing direction, making her opponent look silly on the exit as she throws a hook. She'll often lead with her backhand, sniper-like as her opponent jumps in. You can tell she was a very good amateur, using the check hook as often as possible. She'll often take a half step back to increase the distance between her and her opponent, before catching them on the way in. Must be a very frustrating style to fight against. Again, she'll lead with the backhand, in eye-catching shots. If there's one criticism of Nicholson, is that she often only throws in 1s and 2s, which means she can be overwhelmed with work rate, as she was in her defeat to Tiara Brown. Scotney, on the other hand, is full work rate, operating from a solid high guard and setting up everything from the jab. From this, she'll often use the slip and rip, slipping inside of the jab and letting a powerful hook to the body go. She'll often use a well-disguised double jab to work her way in before throwing a looping backhand. Or she'll throw the backhand on its own, getting her head well off the centre line. Again, she'll lead with a jab before throwing a throwaway right hand to get herself into range and set up her power for the left hook to the body, putting all of her weight on her front leg. Again, she starts with the jab, slips in, setting up the left hook to the body, shifting her way forwards as she does so. Scotney is very adept at hiding her intentions as well behind the high guard. She'll explode from this position, getting her head off the centre line and throwing a looping right hand, always catching her opponent on the way in. Here she does so again in the same round. If there's one criticism of Scotney, it is that she can often be dragged into a fight instead of using her muscle boxing skill at range. However, when she does decide to box and move, she is excellent at any range. Towards the end of the fight, she'll often drop her hands, loosening up and setting up looping right hands. This is often when she's at her most comfortable and lands her most eye-catching shots. As shown here when she narrowly misses with the right hand before following up with the left hook. Despite the hype surrounding this potential fight, both have business of their own to take care of in the near future. For Nicholson, she has Julianne Luna Avila, who boasts a record of 28 wins, 4 losses and 1 draw. for the WBC interim title on the 13th of December, which would put her in position to fight for Scotney's WBC title early next year. For Scotney, she recently had to pull out of her bout for Undisputed against Mayeli Flores-Rosquero. However, this will almost certainly be rescheduled for early next year. Dream fights can often fall apart at the last second, where someone loses. I really hope this doesn't happen in this case because I think it could be a massive fight for women's boxing. In terms of a prediction, I think that although Nicholson's size and reach will make it awkward and a new proposition for Scotney, I think Scotney's high work rate will eventually wear her down and she'll win a relatively clear points decision in the end. However, it should be a great fight between two massively talented fighters and possibly the next generation of women's boxing. As always, let me know what you think and I'll see you all again soon.